Hello, hello, and welcome back to Wheel of Games. We're going to be playing our first game of Final Girl. This is one of the games that most made me want to start recording videos. This is a single-player horror film stand-up experience. I've already shot a different video that goes fairly in-depth on how to play, so in this episode I'm going to be covering that a little bit more lightly and more of an as we go. This is really my first game fully playing this. I've had some sort of partial ones trying to get the mechanics down. So if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. And another note is on presentation. I've started getting some feedback after Burgle Bros. One of the biggest notes was that the overhead camera needs to be a little bit lower. The one I've got isn't very high resolution. So I've brought things in and sort of narrowed it down a bit. So I've compressed a little bit from what the board game mat is so that I can get a little bit closer down to the action. Another note is that the tableau of cards for sale, I've moved a zoom camera in place of that, and all the cards I've got are up here beside me, but as I purchase them, I'll put them in front of the camera so you have an idea of what's going on. So I also mentioned new zoom camera. So I've got this thing set up so that we can have a fairly good close look at the map. Interestingly, for this game, to keep the cost down, I suppose, the actual map itself is relatively small compared to the entire game setup that you've got going on around it. So I wanted to make sure that there's a good view of the whole map and the locations and what's going on there. So move the zoom camera over, and I'll just be holding the cards in front of it as we go. Hopefully that will work out just fine. The first step in any game is to choose your killer and location. We're going to be playing the very first sort of introductory game, Hans the Butcher at Camp Happy Trails. This feels like a setting up of Friday the 13th with Jason, and they also have some introductory text. I'm not going to be going with the full, like, gruesome deaths, all of the extra story stuff. I'll just do the basic intro for here, and once we start playing it through as a campaign, I'll give the full description with all the fun dialogue. So, Camp Happy Trails. Welcome to Camp Happy Trails, home to teenage love, unforgettable friendships, and idyllic summer memories. Go fishing on the lake, get in some archery practice at the range, listen to ghost stories around the fire pit, or sneak off to Makeout Point. Life is always an adventure at Camp Happy Trails. Wait a second, is that screaming I hear in the distance? Oh, fiddlesticks, those spooky stories must be getting to me. I'm sure it's just screams of joy from the other campers. Hot dog, summers at Camp Happy Trails really are to die for. And then we have the description for Hans the Butcher. They say he wears a worn butcher's smock, stained dark with blood. His sledgehammer, which he drags behind him, supposedly weighs over 50 pounds and could crush an elephant's skull. He's over 7 feet tall and his eyes glow a bright scarlet. But the worst part is the iron mask he wears, fashioned to look like a pig, and the wet crunching sounds that can be heard beneath it. Excerpt from A History of Happy Trip. We've got some campers that we need to save, and we will be playing Final Girl. So the Final Girl that's canonically with Camp Happy Trails and Hans is Lori. She's the very first Final Girl we'll be seeing. So she starts with 5 health, and you can see that as we save victims, we can get different bonuses, such as reducing horror level or getting extra time, or other things. Once we've saved 6 victims and earned her special ultimate ability, she gets stronger in a fight. So whenever she's on the same space as an enemy and deals damage, she would do an extra damage. So Final Girl Lori is the first Final Girl. Okay, I'm going to go through the setup step by step to make sure I don't miss anything. So we've already chosen our location. I've got a lot of the setup here done. We've got our custom dice ready and nearby. I've already shuffled and randomly selected the black final health token, which may have nothing on it or may have extra lives. The next step is to shuffle up all of the decks, so I've already shuffled them. On each of the 3 searchable locations, we put down 4 cards, and the top one gets flipped face up. We'll take a look at what those are in just a moment. Another 4 cards. Top one is face up. Ooh, revolver, sweet. 3, 4. Flatten out. Face up. And a flashlight. And the remainder of the item cards that are based on the location are not used in this game. Likewise, I've shuffled up the terror deck. The terror deck is comprised of both the killer and the location's terror cards, And there's plenty more than 10, but we just deal out 10 of the shuffled deck, and that's what we'll be playing with during this game. So a lot of variety as to what can happen over the course of any particular game. I've already shuffled up the event and setup decks. Okay, time for the setup card. So we've already shuffled these up, and we reveal one. So this is the starting setup for this game. And put this in front. Okay, so this indicates where to put the victims, our final girl, and the killer on their starting locations on the board. That stays face up just in case you have to reference where people started at a later point. So we've got 2 people at the utility shed in the back, 1 person by one of the ways out. We have 1 person alone at makeout point, 2 people over at the cabins on the west side of the lake. We have 1 person by the fire pit and 2 people over by the docks. Let's see, it looks like, yeah, we start with 10 people. Hans the Butcher starts over on the east side of the map, and we, Final Girls, start over on the west side of the map, near the tennis courts. Our starting horror level is 4 with Hans. Okay, yeah, we shuffle the event cards and draw one, and then I'll show off what those starting item cards are. So, these are already shuffled. What did we get? We have Vengeance. Now, this is a new one to me. Okay, I don't know why I pissed it off, and I don't care. Just save me! The victim farthest from the killer is now the Damned. Whenever the killer must choose a target, the Damned is chosen instead. The Damned can only be saved if it is the last victim alive. And if the Damned dies, add +2 Bloodlust. I think that's in addition to the 1 that you would normally get. And if the Damned leaves play, I assume like if you save it or something else happens, discard this card. So the victim farthest from the killer. Switch over to the overhead view, so killer's way over here is probably one of the people at the cabins. Yeah, 6 away, or 5 away, but that's definitely the one. So we replace one of these yellow meeples with an orange meeple. And the killer is going to be going straight for that person whenever they possibly can. The game's great. All of the components are very, very glossy, though, so it's hard to get the lighting just right for this game. Hopefully this is okay, and we'll see. Oh, we've got a kitty messing with Hans's health. Okay, played with the lighting again. Hopefully it's even better this time. And I also added the zoom in that blank space below me on the overhead view, so hopefully that will make it even easier to keep track of what's going on our main map. The last thing before we start playing was to actually take a look at, and you can almost see it, still think I need to switch over to the zoom cam. Okay, so at the cabins, the first thing we could pick up is a first aid kit. Step 1, stop the bleeding. Step 2, stay alive. So it does require 1 hand to use. You can use 2 hands worth of items at a time. Every time you use an action card to recover health, recover an additional point of health. So that's great. That one doesn't get used up. It does require a hand, though, so it can prevent you from using a 2-handed weapon. At the dock, which is fairly close to, well, that's where Hans is, there is an old revolver. A little rusty, but it'll still put a bullet between the eyes. So that can be used from the space next to the killer, and it can modify an attack to add an extra damage, requires 1 hand, but the only downside is it can only modify the weak attack action card. Okay, so still great if you want to ping the killer down over time. I will gladly take any weapon over no weapon. And finally, at the utility shed in the northeast corner, we can find a flashlight. Come on. There we go. Mom always said this would scare away the monsters under my bed. I hope she was right. Once per action phase, spend 1 time unit to look at the top card of the terror deck, leave it or place it at the bottom of the deck. So you can't get rid of a terror card, but you can say, I don't want that right now. Not bad, but I definitely know I would like the first aid kit or the old revolver first among the cards that we have to start. The Butcher has a definite target, and thankfully it is at the farthest end of the map, so that will help us at least a little bit. Maybe we could even drag that person around with us to keep them away from Hans so that they will avoid the other victims for a little bit. Maybe. So our starting hand is made up of all 6 of the 0 cost cards. I'll show these off really quick on the little cam. Okay, so the first one up is Walk. This is a basic movement card. So if you get a success, you can move a space for a time unit. Double success, double spaces. But if you fail the horror roll, then you have to take damage or do nothing and still waste even more time. So not very good, but it is basically a free card. Next up is Focus. We have 2 of these as well. You can use this to reduce the horror level at the cost of a little bit of time, but if you fail, you just waste a bunch of time and get nothing for it. We have the Short Rest card, which will allow us to recover some health, maybe at the cost of time, but if you fail that horror roll, you increase the horror level and it completely stops your action phase. So, a little bit risky. All the 0 cost cards seem to have some kind of drawback. And finally, Weak Attack. This is the card that was referenced by the revolver. It'll only do a little bit of damage, and if you only get 1 success, you'll take damage yourself, and if you fail the roll, you take damage and it ends your turn. So Weak Attack is better than nothing, but it's not by much. That is the starting hand of cards, and of course there are a number of other cards that you can buy using your time phase, or your time units during the planning phase after you're done doing your actions on a turn, including things that'll help you reroll, defensive abilities, maybe some more attacks, searching, that sort of thing. We'll get into it as we go. I think it is time to begin the first turn. Now, we've got all of these actions. What are we going to do? I think our best starting course of action is to rely on that vengeance person that our killer is going to be going after each turn. So if we can get to them and maybe lead them around with us, then that will make our life a little bit easier, and hopefully Hans will leave the other victims alone. So, with that in mind, we're going to walk, and we're going to try to get to those cabins. Our first walk action, we roll the horror dice. Because it starts at 4, we roll 2 dice to start with. Come on, successes. We got 1 success, and 1 that we can turn into a success by discarding 2 cards. I think that's definitely worth it, because each walk card you do is going to take additional time units off. So if I can discard cards to just get there now, then I can end my turn, save up cards for the next turn, and have more time units left over for my budget for the planning phase. So I think it is definitely worth discarding 2 cards to get your second success there. And I will discard 1 focus and 1 short rest. I don't think I'll need both focuses right now. So we've used the walk card and discarded the 2 focus and short rest cards. Now, notably, these cards get discarded somewhere off to the side in a discard pile that is separate from your tableau, your shop for the planning phase. You are not allowed to rebuy cards that you just played during this turn. You can get them on your next turn again, but not on the same turn. So you can't keep cycling the 0 cost cards over and over again as like discard fodder. So with that double success on the walk card, we do spend 1 time unit, and we get to move 2 spaces. And that gets us all the way to the cabins on this turn. Now, in order to search, try to get that first aid kit or maybe some more weapons, we are going to need to get a search action from our tableau here. So we have to get to the planning phase before we do that. So we're not going to weak attack. It might be worth focusing, but I think I want to hold on to these cards to either we can discard each one of them to get 1 time unit each during the action phase, or we can hold on to them as potential discard fodder to get successes on future turns. I think I should hold on to that, because I'm going to get some search cards, and maybe that'll really help us out getting successes on those. So holding on to the other 3 cards for now. That ends our action phase. Now we move into the planning phase, so it's time to purchase our cards with our budget of 5. Now I definitely want a search card. I'm at the cabins. I want to get stuff out of there. So that's going to be our first 2 time units. We've got 3 left. Sprint might be a good thing. If I get the thing I need from the cabins, I can maybe save one of the victims, or I can't. The vengeance person has to be the last person you save. I'm probably going to be dragging this kid around while I save every other individual kid. But if I can do that, whichever way Hans chooses to go, I can go the other way. So a sprint would probably be a good option. That costs 2 more time units. And with the 1 left over, if you don't lose it, or if you don't spend it, you lose it. So I'm going to spend 1 on a close call card. That will give us a reroll. That ends our planning phase. At the end of the planning phase, all the cards you played during the turn get put back into the tableau. So since these are all 0-cost cards, I'll put them in a special spot to the side. That ends our planning phase. Now it's the killer's phase. So the killer, the action that he takes on his turn is shown up in the upper left on the back side of the finale card. We still don't know what his finale is. We'll find out when all the terror cards are out. But for now, he starts out by attacking someone who is in his space. Thankfully, there is nobody in his space at the moment, over here on the southeast side of the lake. So his killer phase, nothing happens. Now it's time for the terror phase. We draw and resolve a terror card. Oh no, you can't save us. No one can. If there are no victims on the board, well, there are, so we can ignore that. All victims in your space must panic twice. Okay, so victim panicking, you can see on the board there's all these little numbers that go between the spaces. So whenever a victim panics, you roll the die for each of the victims, and then they will move out of the space that you're in based on those numbers. So they will randomly run away. Okay, let's go with the orange person first. See where they're going to panic off to. Okay, so a 5. Let's see, we've got a 3, 4, 5, 6. So our orange person has panicked out away there, but they panic twice, so he has to go again. Where's he going for his second run? A 5 again, so he's run over into that corner. Now our second person needs to panic twice. Okay, a 4. So their first panic gets them into the same space as the orange person. And one more panic is a 3. So after all of that, they panic straight back into the space with us. Okay, they've come back to the cabins. Interesting. Now we continue resolving. Okay, so now the killer gets 2 things. If there's anyone in his space, he will attack, but there's nobody there, so now he will move towards the closest victim. But because of this special vengeance card, whenever he would choose a target, he must choose that our damned orange meeple instead, which means he is going to move towards our orange meeple. Okay. Put all the other pieces back. And his movement rate at the beginning with the bloodlust at the bottom is 1. So he's going to move 1 towards the orange person. What's the fastest route? 5. Okay, it's a tie. So there's different rules of ambiguity you can use. We're going to go with the rule of horror. So whichever one is scarier. I think that would be going this way because he has a chance of killing a different victim on his route. So that's what's worst for us. Basically playing with the hard rules. Okay, that was the end of the terror card. So now we go to upkeep phase. There's nothing that we need to handle here. We could rearrange items at this time if we needed to, but we don't have to. Now we begin the second round. It's time for our action phase. The number one thing we really wanted to do is search. At the very least, we can get that first aid kit and potentially something more. So we're going to roll the horror dice. We roll 2. And I got double blanks. I can't even try to make this roll better. And that's really going to suck for us because I must either... I can take the top item in my space, but increase the horror level by 2, which would be a lot, and still take 2 time. Or I can only increase the horror level by 1 and still take the 2 time. Ooh. Well, you know what? That is so terrible. I'm going to use my close call card, which I didn't show you before. The close call, play after a horror roll to reroll 1 die, or reroll all of the dice for 2 time. I'm going to reroll all of the dice for this one. So we got reset back up to 6 before. So our time units go down by 2, and we get to reroll all of the dice after playing that card. So hopefully that search will work out for us this time. Okay, we got 2 double discard things. So I could discard all 4 of the cards that remain in my hand, including the sprint that I paid for to get double successes. But we're spending a lot of time on these things. I think I will just do the double discard once, and I will discard my weak attack and walk cards to turn one of those into a success, so at least our surge did not go absolutely terribly. So we spend 1 time, we're down to 3, and we can take the top item card in our space. So at least the horror level hasn't gone up by a bunch. And that means we get to take that first aid kit. So now that goes into our hand, and it does require a hand to use. And now every time we recover health, we would recover an additional health. Not bad. I really wanted more. Thankfully, Hans is still going slow. Maybe I can try to get more stuff out of there. The dock is down here. That has the gun, and the gun would be great. Maybe I can go the opposite direction of Hans, save some people down in the southwest corner, and go for the gun at the docks. I can try doing a search first, but I think the best thing to do is... Okay, I'm done using actions, but I'm going to discard the focus card to get 1 more time unit for our budget for the planning phase. The manual says that is a often overlooked but critical rule to get you more time units, otherwise it would be impossible to get to the upper reaches there. And I'm holding on to just 1 card, the sprint, so that hopefully I can move fast on a future turn. Actions are done. Now we go to the shop phase. I really want to search again. Thankfully there are 2 search cards in the tableau, so even though I played one and I can't get that one back, I can buy the other search card for 2 time units. I also get all of the 0 cost cards that we used on the first turn, so I've got that walk, the focus, and short rest back. I spent 2 on the search. I've got 2 left. Now, I could grab a sprint. I can't afford anything else. So I could either take the sprint, a guard, but we're not planning to run into Hans anytime soon, and I can only get 1 more close call, so I better just buy the other sprint card. Hopefully I'll get a chance to really move next turn. That's the end of the planning phase because I've run out of time budget and nothing else I can do. So planning phase ends. That counter goes back to 6. Everything we spent from the previous turn goes back into our tableau. From this past turn, rather. For future buying. And now it is the killer's turn. His action would be to attack someone in his space. Thankfully, nobody in his space right now. And we need to resolve his second terror card. Uh-oh, he's found a minor dark power. Every time he does an attack, he does an extra damage. And what those 2 heart symbols mean is that he has extra health now. So what you're supposed to do with those, which I did wrong on my practice game, is he now has, instead of 12 health, 14 health. And you have to take this new health off first before he will... I'll move it over. Might as well go from the inside out so it's more visible. So I have to take those hearts off first to get rid of his minor dark power before he'll start taking his regular health damage. So our killer got buffed up, but thankfully he didn't move, so he's not going to go after that next victim just yet. So his damage went up from 2 to 3 with each attack until I get rid of that power. That was the end of the terror phase. There's no upkeep bits we need to do. I don't need to shuffle things around. So it's our 3rd action phase time. We picked up that search. We've got a couple of sprints. It would be really nice if I could take down that horror level, but I'm still hoping to get a weapon. If I can't find anything this turn, I'm going to start sprinting around. Hopefully I can make it to the docks and go after that revolver and just sort of lead Hans around, taking down his health a bit at a time. So first action is going to be that search action, just like last turn. And this time I don't have a close call for a reroll, so hopefully we'll actually get lucky this time. Oh, they're both double draws. I could get rid of all of my cards, basically getting stuck for a turn to look at 2 cards, or I could just take the top one. There's only 4 cards at each location, so if I look at 2 cards, I pretty much will know all but the last card that's at the cabin, so I won't need to search there anymore, so I'm sorely tempted to just discard all but one of my cards, including that sprint I just bought. Feels aggressive and risky, but the more I can search, if I can get a weapon, that's the name of the game. It's kill or be killed with these villains we're going up against. So I'm going to discard every card except for my last remaining sprint to get both successes on the search, and that means we reduce our time budget by 1, and we take the top 2 item cards at our location. So we get our choice, and we can put the other one either face up on the top or face down on the bottom. And ooh, I think I know which one of these I want. We've got mysterious pills. No telling what the hell these are, but I'm out of options. Down the hatch and fingers crossed. Discard this during the action phase and choose either to reduce the horror level by 1 or recover 2 hit points. And I don't think that would be affected by the first aid kit. But I want weapons, and we've got hold still for a second while I bury this in your face. So range of 0, but it augments your attack by 2. It does require both hands to use, however. So I'm definitely picking up the axe, and I will put the mysterious pills face up. There may be a time when I want to reduce the horror level and I'm back by the cabins again. Maybe it'll be worth just grabbing that to reduce the horror level. So when you've picked up a item, that's one of the times that you can rearrange the items that you're holding. Outside of the upkeep phase is the only other time. The axe is a 2-handed weapon, so I have to unequip the first aid kit, and that just goes into our backpack. So now I've got an axe. Haha, excellent. I am feeling much more capable of fighting Huns now. But if I can reduce the horror level, save some victims, that will also put me in a better position. So we did great with that search action. It is now done, however, and it took out most of our cards. We have the option of trying to sprint this turn, or we could hold off here and try for a more involved turn next turn. Because if you get no successes on a sprint, then you get some really nasty effects, and I don't want to risk those. I will end my action phase here, hold on to that last sprint card in my hand. Now our planning phase begins. We have a budget of 5 to spend. We get all of the 0-cost cards that we played on the previous turn back, so it's a walk, a weak attack. Thanks to the fire axe, it's no longer quite so weak, and that focus card. Something that I would really like to grab would be improvise. This is another new card. Focus in. Okay, so if you get a success, the next horror roll, you don't have to discard cards to upgrade those 3s and 4s into a success. They just automatically become a success. And on the dice, the 3 and the 4 have the little double card symbol. If you get a double success, the entire rest of the turn you get that bonus. But if you get no successes on the improvise, the horror level goes up and you've wasted time. But if you can get even 1 success on this thing, and I'm willing to discard those 0-cost cards to get it, this can set you up for a really good turn. So that's my first 3 of the budget. I've got 2 left. But honestly, I've got the axe now. I think the axe is better than the revolver. I can grab close calls to make it so that the improvise is better option. Yeah, I'll grab both of the close calls. We've already seen that card. You can re-roll a horror roll, 1 die, or spend 2 time to re-roll all the dice. That used up the rest of my budget. So planning phase ends. Reset the budget back to 6. The killer phase, he still doesn't have anyone in his space to attack. So we go straight to the terror phase. He's picked up another minor dark power. This time it is unholy speed. So his movement has been buffed, and he now has 2 more additional bonus health. Instead of 12, he's now up to 16. and both his attack and move have been increased. Now his move is up to 2. I mean, at least he's going to skip straight over this this guy when he finally starts to move after us. So he's buffing up as well. It's going to be a big fight at the end of this one. Terror phase ends. There's no upkeep we need to worry about. I forgot to put all the cards back in the tableau. Okay, get faster at that as time goes on. And we're ready to start our next action phase. This time we've got a bunch of cards to play with, and I think we needed to start with that improvise. So this is the one where we're going to try to get improve all of these maybe results into the successes. So horror rolls to start. Okay, we got 1 success and a upgradable partial success. I think it is worth getting rid of the walk and the weak attack. I'm still not ready to fight Hans, so the weak attack is, I'm feeling good about discarding that. And I've got a sprint that I would like to use as over the walk. It'd be nice if I could use both, but I'm going to discard that. So now, with double successes, for the rest of this action phase, all 3s and 4s count as successes. Okay, it's the improvised card done. I was hoping to use at least one of those cards. Would have been nice for the half the walk. Okay, now it is time to go for our sprint. So sprint, pretty sure I've shown this one already. Let's just go straight to the horror roll. Yep. Okay, we got a success, and that second one, because of the improvise, is automatically upgraded to a success this turn. So at the cost of 1 time unit, we can move up to 3 spaces. Now, when we're moving, and we're right next to a victim, you can bring up to 2 victims along with you into new spaces. So you essentially lead them to the escape to save them. So we're going to take the yellow meeple with us from the cabins. You can also pick up victims along the way, that you don't have to start and keep moving the same one. You could even swap them out if you wanted, but you have a max of 2 that you can bring with you. I will continue moving my second space down to here, and my third space, I'm going to take those victims to the exit. Now this pesky orange damned victim, I can't save yet, but I can save the yellow one. So that means we've saved our first victim, and on Lori's little card here, I can use that to get more time or reduce the horror level. I think what I want right now is more time. So we place that, let's see, show it on the track. We place the victim right on top of one of those spaces, and now we've got, our budget is increased by 2 because we've saved that first victim, and the killer can't get them. Double checking with, yep, the damned can only be saved if it's the last victim. Boo. Okay, that was all 3 of the moves that we got from the sprint. Great sprint. And now we're pulling Hans the other way. And the last card that I've got that I can use right now is this focus. I want to try to reduce the horror level. Okay. Take our horror roll. Now that we're buffed, I wouldn't want to take the focus by itself. Okay, we got a single success. I don't need to... Well, you know what? This is what the close call is for. If I can get another success out of this by using the reroll without spending more time, then I can turn that 1 cost into a 2 bonus time. So I'm going to just reroll the one that was blank. Hey, second success. So now instead of losing a time, we gain 2 time. And the time is essentially being efficient, so you give yourself more time to prepare for the next actions you're going to take. So that reduced the horror level by 1, it's down to 3. If we can reduce it down to 1, we'll get to roll more dice. As well, it increases our budget by 2, so we're up to 9. Excellent. And we did use that close call, so now the only card we have left in our hand right now is one more close call, which is a great card to hold on to for future turns. Our action phase ends. Now we've got a budget of 9. Let me take a couple seconds to think about this one. Okay, well, we do get to take the 3 0-cost cards, the Walk, Focus, and Short Rest, for free. With our 9 budget, I love that Improvise card, especially if we have things we can use to just make the whole rest of the turn better. So I'll take the improvised card. I need a sprint card because I need to be able to move towards those other victims or the guy over at the docks. So that reduces our budget by 5. With the remaining 4, I could buy 2 search actions. So if I can actually get all the way to the docks, then that would allow me to definitely get the gun, but I don't so much need the gun. All I need is something to talk about when we get up to the killer. So for 4, I'm going to take the Furious Strike card. So this is a good, strong attack. There's one ultimate attack that costs 6, but this one gives you, for a success, you deal damage and reduce the horror, but it would end the action phase. That's what the little stop sign thing means. With a double success, you deal 2 damage and reduce the horror level, and with my axe, I would make that a very strong attack. I could wipe out both his powers with 1 attack using that axe on this. So Furious Strike, I finally have a reason to go meet Hans. And that was the rest of our budget. So planning phase ends, and we put everything else back in the tableau. And Hans's phase, yet again, because he's been staying still and powering up, he doesn't get to attack anyone, so we skip straight to that terror phase. What do we got this time? He kept swinging his hammer and killing and killing. If there are no victims on the board, discard and draw, but that's not the case. So instead, he's going to target victims, then move and attack, and then do it again. Now, we are very lucky because of that single vengeance damned person that he really, really wants to kill. He must target this guy down in the bottom corner here. So his movement is buffed, so he has to go towards this guy. Pretty sure it's... Actually, is it equidistant? 6. Neither one of them is really going to be worse for us because he's going to be moving 2 with each of these moves. So let's bring him... It's worse for us if he blocks our way to the docks. So his first of the actions, he moves 2. There's no one for him to attack. Next time, he moves 2. The fire pit would give him victims, but he's not targeting the fire pit. He's targeting us, so he uses another move, but he does not get to do his attack. I believe we have satisfied this terror card, and Hans has finally moved, used all of those abilities he's been hoarding up, but thankfully he did not get to kill anyone. And I think it's time for us to take our first swing at Hans. Our next action phase begins, and let's start with that improvise, set us up a very nice card, or a nice turn. So this one we really want those successes on to just have boost for the whole turn. And yet again, I would have to spend most of my cards to get that. It may not be the worst thing, but I really don't want to stop on Hans's space if I'm shepherding this victim around. I really want that for the Furious Strike. I can just walk up to him and smack him good, but then he's going to immediately kill the victim if I bring the damned with me. I don't want to have to go back and grab the damned and keep shuttling him around. I may have to leave the damned to die in this case. This is a very tough decision. Okay. I've decided that since I really don't want the negative effect, which would increase the horror level and just waste time, I have to do at least one of these. So I'm going to discard the focus and the short rest as the things that I can least afford, or that I least need at this moment, to get a single success, and my next roll only, the 3s and 4s, will count as successes. And now I've still got cards that I can play. So I can sprint to his space, with hopefully getting those upgrades to his successes, maybe make an attack on him, and then walk away if I'm lucky. So this is going to be a bit of a risk, but I need to attack Hans. So we're taking that single success, so only this roll is going to get buffed. This is going to be our sprint. We're going to try to lead our little friend here straight to Hans. Okay, our roll. We have a success, and the second one is automatically upgraded. And that means I could just skip straight past Hans and get to the other side. And that gets me close to the docks. I don't want the thing at the dock. I could go to the fire pit, maybe save someone there. No, the name of the game right now is Hit Hans. I need to deal damage before the finale and he gets even stronger. So we're bringing his meal straight to him with the intended goal of getting back out again. Hopefully we will be able to. And that cost us 1 time unit. That was our sprint. Now it is time for the Furious Strike. We're making that attack with our axe, so it is worth whatever the damage result is, +2. Furious Strike against our enemy. Oh boy. So we got a success and a upgradable maybe success. If I'd got that improvised at the beginning, this would have been stronger. So if I don't upgrade it, look at the Furious Strike. If I just stay with 1, I will deal 3 damage to him, reduce the horror level, but then we stop. And I know that the Butcher's first thing he's going to do is kill the damned. So I really want to get our guy back out of this space again using the walk action, so I don't want to discard it. But if I don't discard it, we're stuck there, and he's going to kill him anyway. If I do discard both of these cards, then I can at least do 4 damage, and it wouldn't stop my turn, but I'd be out of actions anyway, so I can't get the guy out. Unless I use Close Call and I get lucky right now. I think I have to just sacrifice him, do as much damage as I possibly can right now. So I am going to discard both of these cards, get that double success, so I deal 4 damage to Hans, and that's going to get rid of both of his dark powers. So now he's going to slow down, and he no longer has the extra damage per attack. But unfortunately, I should have left the damned in that first space. I was too greedy. So these 2 terror cards just get discarded. He no longer has the extra health, and we have reduced the horror level down to 2. We're close to getting an extra die on each roll. Almost forgot my planning phase. So I know I'm going to get back the walk, weak attack, and focus. That's going to help us fight off Hans. I'm still trying to teach Felix to stay on the chair and off of the table. Hopefully he will behave himself here. So we want to attack Hans, do as much fighting as we possibly can. So I'm going to spend most of my budget of 5 on this Retaliate card, which will allow me to respond to an attack on the next turn, and the Close Call, which will give us a reroll. That's in addition to the 3 free 0-cost cards. Now it's Hans's turn, and I've let him straight to his preferred target. So, Killer's Phase, now he has a target. The Butcher will always target a victim in the same space, even if it wasn't the Vengeance guy. So he instantly kills that guy. And that means, if the damned dies, it's 2 extra bloodlusts. So he kills his first victim, goes over there, and he gets 1 for just any time a victim dies, but it's +2. That's taken us past a little marker that indicates that the horror level increases by 1. He hasn't increased his stats yet, but the next one is going to increase the damage he does per attack up from 2 to 3. He's still at least moving slowly, but that also gets rid of our Vengeance card. This one is discarded as well. Just put that off to the side. I really should have just left him at the exit. I couldn't save him, but he could have distracted Hans for me. That was the killer's turn. We still have a terror phase to resolve. What's he doing? I fell asleep. What did I miss? Place 1 new victim at the cabins. So we've got a fresh victim back there. And increase the horror level by 2. And I was just at 2. Now it's up to 5. Oh. Horror level moved all the way up to there this turn. That is terrible. But if I hadn't been reducing it, we'd almost be down to 1 die for each horror roll, and that is untenable. On this turn, our objective is just to do as much damage to Hans as we possibly can. And part of that is going to be a retaliate, so we need to stay put and let him attack us. So the only action card I'm planning to play is this weak attack, which thanks to our fire axe, will not be so weak. Okay, time for our horror roll. It's frustrating that that got beefed up, but nothing we can do about that. Come on, successes. Oh, the only one I got is one of the upgradable ones. Well, I'm going to get rid of my walk and focus zero-cost cards to upgrade that into at least a single success. So what that means for the weak attack is it deals a damage and I take a damage. So I take my first point of damage. But because it has dealt damage to Hans, my fire axe means that that's actually 3 damage. So we've started chipping off his proper health. And now he's got 9 left. But that's a pretty darn good weak attack. Okay, the rest of it, we're going to wait for him to come at us. So ending our action phase, we didn't actually spend any time, so we have a full budget of 6. What do we want for our next turn? I have to make my choices before I know what he's doing or what the terror card's going to be. Our health could go down pretty quickly here now that we've only got the 4 left. And he would be doing 2 damage per attack, so I can't just sit here and go back and forth for multiple turns. I need to be ready to run, and to that extent, I'm going to take a sprint, an improvise, and the other close call for a reroll. That takes all 6. I also get the zero-cost cards back. So now my hand going into the killer phase is going to have the 2 close calls. I've still got the retaliate and a bunch of cards that will hopefully get me out of there on the next turn. Time budget gets reset to 6. All the other cards come back. It was just the zero-cost cards. Back into the tableau, that is. Now it is the killer's turn. We planned for this, but he is attacking us with his killer action. His attack damage would be 2, but wait, we are using this blue retaliate card, which I didn't go into great detail on, but these blue cards, there's guard and retaliate. These you can use when the killer attacks you to have some kind of defensive effect. So retaliate. I'm not scared anymore. The next time it attacks, I'll be ready. I'm going to kill that godforsaken thing. So if I get lots of successes, I can reduce damage. Well, even if I only get one success, that would reduce the damage, and my fire axe is still going to affect the damage I deal back. So this is a very important roll to get. I'll definitely be ready to use any of the close calls to try to get this one up high. Okay, I got 1 success, which is enough to reduce all of the damage that he would do, because he's only doing 2 damage right now. And then I would deal the 1 damage plus 2. I'm pretty good with that. I can hold on to my close call. So I reduce his damage by 2, I take no damage, and I deal 3 back to him. So he's taken another 3 damage. He's down to 6. We're doing great so far. We still have to deal with the terror phase. So let's see what that has in store for us. Uh-oh. Hans wants me. He's always wanted me. So he's targeting specifically the final girl. He gets a double move to get to us, and then he makes an attack. So he's doing an additional attack here, and now I don't have a defensive card, so he deals his full attack damage of 2 to me. And now my health is down to 2 out of 5, and I'm in a terrible position. Uh-oh, I need to get out of here. Might be a good time to switch over to that first aid kit and vamoose, because I don't have any attack cards in my set right now. So I'd better just skedaddle. That's the terror phase done. It's the upkeep phase, which is one of the times where you can swap your cards around, rearrange the things that are in your hand versus not in the hand. So I'm going to switch over to the first aid kit, because I need to get out of his path for a bit and recover some health. I think we're doing very well so far in this game. So upkeep phase, swap that around, no other effects. Oh, right, our mentions dude. Now we start our next action phase. Might still be a good idea to go for that revolver in the docks. Or at least to save some more kids. Maybe I can lead both of the ones out of the fire pit. So I've got an improvise, a short rest, sprint. I think I want to hold on to the improvise. If I can get a set of really good cards to go with that improvise, then I can put together a really good, maybe game-winning turn. So I'm going to hold on to the improvise, not start my round with it. Instead, I'm going to go straight for the sprint, and I'm going to hopefully use my close calls or maybe discard some of the less excellent zero-cost cards to make this roll good. So roll, no, I don't know, roll 2 dice. Okay, I got a blank and an upgradable success. I really, really want to move 3 here, because that would allow me to get these 2 people all the way out to safety, which would give me more stuff. I think I'm going to use a close call just to reroll the blank one at first. See if I can get really lucky with a success on this one. Nope, now I've got 2 upgradable successes. Am I willing to sacrifice all the rest of those things in order to get these people to freedom? I think I will. I will sacrifice the other 4 cards, so the 3 zero-cost cards and that close call that I had. I'm going to discard all of those, make these both successes, so now I can move up to 3 spaces for the cost of 1 action, so our 1 time unit goes down, and now we can move 3 spaces. So the two of you come with me, and we go over there and over to here. And now, because we moved all 3 spaces, and we are in these exit space with these 2 victims, we can save them. So if anything is, the victims won't save themselves, even if they're without the final girl standing there and telling them, hey, get out of there. So we've saved 2 more victims, yay. And now we can place them on Laurie's sheet to get some bonuses. Something that would be very good would be to reduce the horror level by 1. I definitely don't like how close it was getting to the red zone there. We could take a card worth up to 2, or we could increase our time units by 2, or we could move a space, which would get us straight to the dock. I think I will move that 1 space and get over to the dock, because maybe I can search, maybe save these 2 people as well on the next turn. Okay, that is the resolution of our sprint card, and we're going to hold on to the improvise. I believe that finishes off our action phase, so now we have a budget of 5 for our other cards. We do get the walk, weak attack, and focus that we spent on a previous turn back. And what else? I guess it's pretty clear. We've gone to a place where we want to search, so let's spend 2 on a search. All the close calls are in our discard right now, so I can't round out our budget. We have 3, so I would like to get a sprint, but instead I'm going to take a distraction that costs 3. Distraction is another new card we haven't used yet this game. So the purpose of this card is to reduce the horror level and maybe get you some more time. But if you don't get any successes, bad stuff happens. Either you waste a lot of time or the horror level actually goes up instead. So that's going into our list of cards. And that uses our budget, so we're done with the planning phase. Now it is the killer's turn. This time there's no one in his space to attack. So we go straight over to the terror phase. What do we got this time? He just keeps coming. So now he's targeting anybody, and he will do a move and then an attack. So this time, he will be able to target anybody because that vengeance damned person is now out of the way. But the first thing is that our horror level does go up by 1, so it's back up to 5. He targets the closest person, and that'll be the space with the victims. He always resolves ties by where the most victims are. So he's coming towards the docks, and his movement is still just 1, because we got rid of that dark power. So thankfully he can't reach us to make an attack. So the terror card is now done, but he is menacing us. Okay, upkeep phase. I think I'm still going to hold on to that first aid kit. Yep, first aid kit. Forgot to put all of these back into the tableau after the last turn. Okay, and that'll do it for the upkeep phase. So now we are ready for our next turn. So this time, I think it's a good time to use that improvise. We really want to get a good search and at least walk these people to safety. I don't have the short rest, and if Hans catches me, he will kill me. But I can at least get one heal out of saving the victims. So first step, improvise. We're trying to make our rolls better for the future with this round. We got a success and an upgradable success. I am willing to sacrifice the weak attack and the focus as zero-cost cards in order to make the rest of these much more likely to hit. So for the rest of the turn, all of our 3s and 4s, anything but a blank die counts as a success. Next up, we are going to search. So roll the 2 horror dice. Horror roll, A. So this time, full successes, so we take that at the cost of 1 time. Yeah, our improvise didn't take any time. So we can take the top 2 items at our location, which is the old revolver and something else. We can choose one. So we have gotten the old revolver would allow us to attack from the next space over, which he actually is at the next space over right now. Didn't think of that. And the map. If I'm going to survive the night, I need to know the lay of the land. You can discard the map during the action phase, and then for each deck of item cards, do one of the following. Reveal the top card if it's face down. If the top card is face up, you may remove it from the game and reveal the next card. So if I really don't like, say, the mysterious pills or the flashlight, I can just get rid of those and hopefully find something nice, like a weapon. Well, I would definitely prefer the old revolver. I can pick that up and equip it along with the first aid kit, because they each require only 1 hand. And I will take the map. Oof. I will put it on the bottom face down. There's 2 cards left we haven't seen in that spot, but I think I really have the weapons that I need to finish this game. I just need to get lucky and execute successfully. That completes our search action. So now we have a walk and a distraction. I'm going to use the distraction. I really want to get the horror level down, and then walk these people to safety afterwards. So distraction, horror roll is 1 success. Now 1 success is still great. Would have been nice if I had something that could give us the double, because that would give us a double reduction in horror level instead of just 1, but we're back down to where we started, and our time budget goes up by 1. So hey, the distraction paid off. I need some sort of distraction to buy myself time. Goes into there. And our last card of the turn, we are going to use a walk to try to get out of here and save a victim. Or 2. I really need at least 1 success to save these folks. Oh, and because of the improvise, that 4 is a success. So we can move up to 1 space at the cost of a time unit, back down to 5, but we have rescued both of these victims. Now they are survivors, and we can place them on our card. So I desperately need that health. Now I can survive 1 attack from Hans. And the last one, I can take an action card worth up to 2 or get 2 more budget. I think I want to take an action card worth up to 2. I'm just going to take a sprint, because I need to keep my distance from Hans. Okay. Oh, and it's actually still the same turn. I could use that sprint right now and try to get up to the utility shed. Get some distance, maybe try to heal up some more, build up some powerful cards. So yeah, I've still got that bonus. Let's use that sprint right now. If I can save more people, Lori's going to level up to her ultimate power and make these attacks even stronger against Hans. So we're playing that sprint right away. Oh, and that counts as a double success because the improvise is still in effect. So our time budget does go down to 4, but we can move up to 3 spaces. I think we will just go straight to that utility shed. We have the option of maybe doing another search up there. The flashlight would let us check the terror deck. I don't so much want that one, but maybe something else. If nothing else, it's worth it just to save the victims and prevent Hans from leveling up his bloodlust level and keeping him weak. So that was still a great use of a sprint. Our action phase is done. We're totally out of cards. So we've got a budget of 4 for this turn. We do get The walk, short rest, and focus. Might be time to actually use that short rest to use the medic kit and finish recovering. And what else? I think I want to take another distraction card and a close call, the reroll card. For my full budget of 4, I really want to reduce that horror level down. If I can get it really low, then having an extra die on every roll would just be huge. So I only bought 2 cards. Now it's to the killer's phase. He has no one he can attack in his space, so he proceeds directly to the terror phase. Oh boy. Really? There are in fact 2 of this card, because it came out again. He just keeps coming, so he's targeting the closest of anyone, taking 1 move, and then attacking if he has a target. Who is the closest? Well, we're equal distance from the cabins or the utility shed, but there's 2 victims here, so that's going to be his target space. If he goes through the lake, well, those each only have 1, though, so he breaks the tie by coming around the outside towards the spot with 2 victims. His speed is still only 1. They only got 1 move, so... but we only have 2 rounds left before he starts doing his finale. Ooh boy. Okay. That was the Terra phase, upkeep. I forgot to put these back in the tableau again. I'll do that real quick, and then we start our next turn. Okay, action time. Hans is still a little ways off, but that finale is looming, as he's going to start moving a lot faster and coming straight at us. Okay, it would still be nice to get our horror level down, and of course to save these people. I did not pick up a search. Really what I want to do is walk these folks over to the nearby exit. So walk is one of my priorities. Short rest also is. I don't want to waste the distraction card. Wait until I've got an improvise or some more stuff to make that more likely to get the best result. So we'll start with the most important thing first. We are going to walk. We are not searching this time. Go straight for the movement. Yep. Well, that was a blank that rolled all the way off, but we did get 1 success. And that would get us to move 1 space. Not enough. Like, I may end up re-rolling and then having to discard the rest of my cards just to upgrade this thing. I think it's worth it. Let's get the re-roll on that blank die, see what else we can get. Got lucky. Okay, at the cost of 1 time unit, we can move up to 2 spaces. So now, we've moved those 2 victims to the other exit that's up in the top corner of the map. Top middle of the map, rather. So we have saved 2 more victims. Thank you. So we get to put a victim on the last space on the track, giving us a budget increase of 2 for our planning phase. Now that we have filled that track, we can flip this over and we get our ultimate ability, which is whenever we deal damage to the enemy from the same space, we do extra damage. The fire axe just got sharper. Yep, and we also had 1 additional victim that we saved past filling up the card. So for each additional victim saved, our budget increases by 1. So now our budget's up to 8, and we've just powered up again. That resolves our walk. We still have a short rest, focus, and distraction. I want to do the short rest just so I can get that health back. And I also have the first aid kit, so even if I only get 1, it'll still help. Oh, no, Hans, you are still there. I did roll double blanks, though. So the short rest, no successes, so we get the worst option here. We do still recover a health, and because of the med kit, that gets us up 2, so we're back up to a full 5 health. But the horror level increases, our budget goes down by 1, and our action phase ends immediately. Thankfully, this was the last action anyway, so we don't lose too much. And we get to hold on to that focus and a distraction card for next time. Sorry, baby. You have to stay on my lap. Can't go across the board. Okay, let's check our budget. Well, we have a whopping budget of 7 here. So we can go and get the strongest attack card, which is the critical blow. So with this thing, if you get a success, you do 2 damage and reduce the horror level. Double success, 3 damage. And with the fire axe and Lauria's extra ability, that top result would do 6 damage, instantly killing Hans. We could get really lucky and just end the game with this thing. This is the most expensive card for a reason. We use 6 budget on that. We've got 1 left over, so we can pick up a close call. And of course, we can get the rest of the 0 cost cards, so we get that weak attack back, as well as the extra walk and focus. We have a total of 7 cards in hand. And we are ready to... Yep, that ends the planning phase. Hans' turn. He has no one to attack in his space. We go to the terror card. Only 1 card left over there. Oh, we've got something big happening here. It's a fire! Roll a die to determine which space bursts into flames. Uh-oh. So we got a 3. That is the utility shed where we just were. All victims in that space are killed. Discard all item cards from that space. If you or an enemy are there, you would each lose a damage. So the utility shed and that flashlight and everything it had, those are all gone from the game. Everything that was there burned down. Nothing left at the utility shed. Good thing we rescued those victims. Of note, the killer doesn't have to be the one who kills the victims. As long as the victims die, then his bloodlust was still of increase. So it's very lucky that we rescued those victims last turn when we did. That was the event phase. So we've got 1 terror event left. And so at the end of the next turn, the finale would begin. Upkeep phase. I think it is time to swap the axe back into our hand, or both hands, it takes both of them, and put the medkit in reserve. Yep. Upkeep phase, we can shuffle that stuff around. All our action cards came back. Time for the action phase, the last one before the finale begins. We want Hans to get over to us, but he's going to find us on his own before long. As many more victims as I can save before he starts chopping them up and powering up from this bloodlust tracker, the better. We do have a distraction. We've got focuses and weak attacks. He's going to be coming... That's the closest person with 3, unless he's specifically targeting us. So if I can do a walk and get some good successes on that, then I might be able to save that person. If not this turn, then next turn. So, walking, doing a horror roll. 1 success. So, at the cost of 1 time, I'm not using the reroll on this right now. I will make it to his space. We could use the distraction and focus cards to try to bust down that terror level. I'm hesitant to spend cards right now. What I can do is buy some of these really big buff cards to make the rest of the game hopefully go better. So I'm not going to do any more actions this turn. I'm not going to move. I'm going to save the critical blow, the distraction, the close call, and I'm going to discard weak attack, all of my 0 cards basically. Those 3 cards to increase my budget from 5 to 8. And we go straight to the planning phase. I want to get some good buffing cards. So, improvise, my favorite one that makes the rest of the round a lot easier. I'm going to grab that for 3. I'm also going to grab a new card called Planning. The Planning card. It allows you to roll additional dice based on the number of successes you had. So if you get any successes, you get 2 extra dice for the next roll. When we've got a game critical blow coming up, that'll be perfect. And even if you don't get any successes, you still get a die, but you'd get some horror stuff. So that's for 4. The improvise is for 3, and I can get the last close call card to round out our budget. So I've got 6 cards in hand. I can get the last 2 0-cost cards. And we are ready. Spent all of our budget. Killer phase. He still doesn't have anyone to attack. Our last terror card is out. He wants fresh blood. If there are no victims on the board, we still have some left. Otherwise, targeting victims, he gets a double move and then an attack. Thankfully, we've managed to manage his bloodlust. He only got that 1 guy at the beginning, so his movement is still 1. He gets a double move towards the closest victim, which is still the one that's right in our space. And he doesn't have a target to attack. So now it is time. We have an upkeep phase. There are no terror cards left, and that means it is time to reveal the finale. This game's finale is Bloodbath. So each turn, he will target the closest person. He will double move towards that space, and then he will double attack that space. So no special abilities, no special powers or anything, but he is just coming straight at you, and he's hitting hard. Okay. Let me check the rules really quick, because I'm not sure what happens about the dark power. Okay, it says in the rare case that the finale is revealed and the dark power card is still face down, the dark power should be revealed as well. We managed to keep him to only killing the one damned person, so he never reached the spot on the track that would have revealed the dark power, so we find out what his dark power would be. I thought I removed the epic dark power. Uh-oh. I guess I removed the epic finale. I didn't realize there was an epic dark power. So, he gets double bloodlust. Every victim he kills increases his bloodlust by double. That's his epic dark power. So that is revealed. And now on the killer phase, there's no more terror phases, killer phases. He's just double moving, double attacking for the rest of the game. Now it is our turn. Okay, we're starting with an improvise. I've got some rerolls and some things that I can sacrifice to make that prep card go well. I love improvising. Time to improvise, to go off script. They'll never see it coming. What do we got? Ooh, I can sacrifice 2 cards. I think I'm going to use a close call to reroll the empty one. I can at least get 1 success. Ugh, no. No. Okay, I'm going to do it again. Use my other close call. Give me a success. Oh, I don't have enough cards to double discard. Well, I can't get rid of my walk card because I need to get to Hans to attack him. I'm going to discard the short rest, and it sucks to say it, the distraction. So I can get at least 1. Actually, forget that. I'm just going to take the 0 on the improvise, even after both of the rerolls. It sucks, but I will take my time going down by 1 and the horror going up by 1 to 6, which is terrible, but I need these cards. I need to be able to sacrifice these if I have to. We are now going to take a walk. We are going to walk into Hans's space. Horror roll. I rolled double blanks. I can take a damage to move up to 1 space still. I'm gonna do it. If this doesn't kill Hans, but if I don't do it, then he's just going to reach me and attack us twice anyway. So I take the damage, I move into his space. It's showdown time. Damage reduces the time by 2, which is terrible, getting no successes on the critical time. I'm going to do planning. I desperately need a success on this one, because if the horror roll goes up, it's going to reduce my dice for all of the future turns. I do still have 2 cards that I can get rid of to make sure that anything that is not blanks, I can at least get 1 success, but not double blanks, please. I got 1 success. 1 success on planning is good enough, because the 1 success means our budget for the next phase goes down to 2, but we get 2 dice extra for the next horror roll. And that roll is going to be the critical blow. Okay, it's time. This is the game on the line here. Critical blow, us against Hans. Let's go for it. If I can roll it on the camera there. Okay. 1 success is not quite enough to kill him, because it would be 2 and all of our bonuses would be an extra 1. But I can upgrade that by discarding the short rest and the distraction. So I ended up getting the 2 successes, so that means we got the best result here. The horror level goes down by 1, down to 5, and we get to do 3 damage, plus the 2 from the axe, plus the 1 from the final girl's ultimate ability. So have we won, though? One thing to note is the black die. We don't know what's under there. So we done 6 damage. So there's the first 5. And now we flip over the last token. Is it blank? If it's blank, then we win. If not, he comes back to life with more health, and we've got nothing. We would probably lose. Nope. He does not come back in horror movie fashion today. We have won. We got rid of his last health point, and he's got nothing left. So we are triumphant today. That was incredibly risky. I definitely took some risks I didn't need to take on that last turn. If he had come back, we would have lost because he would have gotten his double attack and taken all of our health down. And there's no telling what our final thing was. Whether we had additional health, if we could have come back and continued the fight either. Well, that was a pretty good first game of Final Girl. I definitely seemed to be ahead of the game in the first part, managed to keep Hans mostly because of that special vengeance meeple. He wasn't going after the individual victims and picking them off and getting his bloodlust up, which would have boosted his power. I was able to keep him away. And also, because he kept getting those minor powers early on, he really wasn't moving after us. So he really wasn't building up his power slowly over the game like I suppose normally he would have been. Which meant he didn't have that epic dark power and all the other stuff that he would have had going into that. So we really got ahead of the game a bit early, and were able to find the axe. The axe was hugely important. Getting 2 extra damage for each one of those attacks definitely meant that we got major damage in on him early, and by the time the finale came around, he was in range of getting that critical blow. Otherwise, I may have had to try to keep in front of him and try to shoot him and keep running away. Maybe saving victims if I could. I think closer than it may have seemed, because it didn't look like it, but he totally could have killed us with that extra bloodbath attack. Close game, excellent kill, we win, Hans loses. Hope you enjoyed joining us at Camp Happy Trails on this episode of Wheel of Games, where we were playing Final Girl. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.